by Rebecca Masterson. She is Chief Counsel of Gen Justice. Rebecca, thank you so much for being here with us.
Daytona, thank you so much for having me.
So as we know, the coronavirus has changed a lot of people's lives right now, but one of the group of people who have had their lives drastically changed during this is foster kids. How has the coronavirus affected the system right now?
Daytona, it's a great question, and it's really been tragic, actually. The amount of reports are down of children who are suffering abuse at home, and that's primarily because the schools are closed and people are virtual. So our mandatory reporters don't have eyes on the children. But what we also know is that ERs around the country are reporting extremely heightened incidences of extreme abuse in their ERs.
And why is that?
I hate to speculate on something so serious. I think it's because we aren't getting the reporting to intervene in time to help the children. And I also think that probably life factors such as stress and economic disruption tend to lead to an increase in abuse. We found that in our research that the last recession in the United States led to an increase in severe child abuse. And unfortunately, the statistics aren't in, but unfortunately, I believe that that's what we're going to see as a result of COVID as well.
Yeah, I mean, personally, this is the first I'm really hearing of it right now. Is there any initiatives to kind of bring this to light and maybe pass some legislation to help those kids who are in desperate need right now?
Yes, there really is. One of the things that's being passed is to make sure that none of the children have to leave foster care at the age requirements. And Arizona is working really hard to make sure that no one is aged out of a system or exited from a system because of COVID. I worry about the most vulnerable of the vulnerable. Foster children as a whole are vulnerable, but I worry about the foster children that are missing from care as well. And if the safety net has fallen any further than it already has, I really fear for the safety of the children that we don't know where they are right now.
I think the main question, and this is a question I ask whenever we're talking about any stories like this, people who are sitting at home right now and hearing this, yes, it's an issue, but I mean, what can you do to help?
That's such a good question. I'm going to tell you that a mind-boggling statistic is that 20,000 children go missing from our foster system every single year. On average, that's about 50 children a day. And so many times, these kids don't even have a photograph. And so one of the things we're working on is we would like every single state in this nation to ensure that every child who enters foster care has a photograph. The other thing that we know is that when these children go missing, nobody is really searching for them. And that also needs to change. This is really a call to action.
Yeah, I mean, it's unbelievable right now to know that their lives have been a struggle regardless, and now topping this, it can't be easy, right?
It can't be easy. And what I tell people all the time, and I've probably said this 1,000 times, is it's not that people don't care, it's that they don't know. And that's really the mission of our organization, is to make sure that people know that we can do better and must do better for these children. Go ahead.
You're an advocate for this, obviously. Hearing the stories of not only these kids, but the foster homes as well, what has stuck out to you the most?
What has stuck out to me the most is that everybody involved in the foster child's life, from the agency to their parents to the court, has attorney representation, and these kids don't. That's the first thing that really stuck out for me. The second thing is how many children go missing every year from the foster system, and how we aren't looking for them, and how we don't even have a photo. And if we don't have a photo, we can't find a child if we don't know what he or she looks like. The third thing that's really stuck out to me is we are in a digital age. I mean, Amazon just texted me that my package is 3 stops away. And the technology we're utilizing to find these children that are missing from foster care, it might as well be a carrier pigeon. We have old websites, out-of-date websites, when we could be using cutting edge technology to find and rescue these children. We know that the majority of children, almost 65%, maybe even more according to some experts, of children who are commercially sexually trafficked in the United States are from foster care.
Wow.
It is almost criminal in my mind that we aren't doing more to find these kids when they go off the radar.
And I mean, it's probably pretty obvious why those numbers are significantly higher, but from your research, what else is contributing to that really alarmingly high number?
I think what's happening is many things is these children don't have stable families to teach them about stranger danger and the dangers of trafficking. They don't actually know what happens if they leave. Some are running, and then some truly are abducted and kidnapped. And if you don't have a stable family and you find somebody that wants to love you, or you think they want to love you, it's an extremely vulnerable group of children. The children who are most at risk of going missing and then henceforth being trafficked are children who have had multiple placements, which means they've moved all over the place. They're in group homes, and they're the intellectually disabled. These are really the children that need a strong safety net, not a tattered piece of fabric, which is what we have now. We need their photos, and we need to find them if they're missing.
And so what steps are you taking right now to kind of reverse course?
Generation Justice works with any lawmaker that wants to work with us. We have our hand in several states right now. Locally in Arizona, we have a bill sponsored by Senator Nancy Bartow that would make state identification cards free for every child in foster care. And importantly, it would make them mandatory for the kids in group homes. And we would like that to be a blueprint for every state in the country, because what can happen with that picture is that if something happens and we don't know where a child is for any amount of time, that photo and that identification card can immediately be linked nationwide to law enforcement. And that is our best bet of finding these children.
And what's next in that? What's the latest on that?
That bill is, knock on wood, I believe, just passed the Senate, and we're headed to the House right now.
Wow, that's really amazing. You know, it's almost symbolic too, like giving these kids a face, right? Literally and figuratively.
I think so. I really do think so. We have had missing children call our law clinic, and I can't share their names by law. I'm not allowed to do that. But when I've looked them up, there is sometimes a missing child poster that has no face on it. And I don't have to tell you how unlikely it is that we're going to find a child when we don't know what he or she looks like.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate the work that you're doing right now. I think this is such an interesting topic because over the pandemic, human trafficking has been in the headlines quite a bit, surprisingly, because it hasn't in the past, but it is making headway. But to focus in on this, a specific group of kids who needs help, I think that's so important.
These kids don't have stable families always to protect them, so it really falls to us, I think, as people living alongside of them. We may not know who's in foster care, but just knowing the amount of children who have gone missing and who might be being trafficked, I think is a call to action for reform.
Yeah, and these are kids of any age.
These are kids of any age. We have read stories about children as young as 2 who have gone missing from foster care. We have read stories in other states of children who have had their files closed on them at the age of 9, and we don't know where they are. There are no policies or procedures to find these children, and that's what we need to change.
Any last thoughts on this?
We have an unbelievable amount of technology at our disposal. We have search engines and facial recognition, and I would like to see even some private players step into this arena and put this technology to use on behalf of the kids that are missing from foster care.
Yeah. Yes, we do. We're on technology right now.
Yes, we are.
All right, Rebecca, thank you so much for being with us here on NewsNOW from Fox. You can check out Gen Justice, what you're heading right now, and for more information on that, right?
Yes, genjustice.org. Thank you so much.
Perfect. Thank you so much.